David Edward and Fitz Koehler discuss Fitz's book, My Noisy Cancer Comeback.
Fitz, good morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to do Focused on Writing.
I'm thrilled to be here, and it's nice to be able to contribute to some other author's journey and help them not make the same mistakes, right?
Well, I don't know about mistakes, but you certainly, in your book, have a story to tell, and your writing process is, I'm sure, going to be really fascinating to people because you did it across some other things that were going on in your life that we can talk about, right?
Yeah, of course.
Beautiful. So you've written a book, which is wonderful. What is the book called?
The book is called My Noisy Cancer Comeback, Running at the Mouth While Running for My Life.
I love it. How did you come up with that title?
So I'm a professional race announcer. I'm a fitness expert. Literally what I do is I make noise for a living, happy noise and hopefully informative noise. I boss people around. I help them live better and longer, but I'm always making noise and people pay me for it. And that's great. And there's a hashtag noisy and I'm part of Team Noisy. And so I was diagnosed with breast cancer in early 2019. And one of the most pivotal and important decisions I've ever made in my life was not knowing what was in front of me. And I got whacked with the triathlon of cancer. I did the chemo for 15 months, surgery, radiation. I had it all. But I decided from the get-go that I was not going to miss out on special time with my kid, no matter what. And then I was not going to miss out on my career. And so even while sick, super sick and bald and gray, I continued to get on airplanes most weekends of the year to go make happy noise for tens of thousands of athletes and spectators. And what ensued was pretty freaking funny. And, the book is filled with all these incredible, crazy anecdotes that we never would have had if I had stayed home.
Wow.
Noisy.
And you managed to pick a wonderful time to go through this, right? Because cancer itself is and I lost my mom to cancer, so I know a little bit about it. But you did this, your recovery took place during a pandemic, which had to have you nervous. And on top of that, you decided to keep doing your job and write a book about it.
Well, I'm going to back up and tell you that there wasn't a nervous bone in my body. COVID, who cares after cancer? I mean, are you kidding me? Cancer compared to COVID? Not that people haven't died from COVID. I'm not dismissing that, but I certainly, it didn't rattle, not even my tiniest bone, this COVID thing. When I was officially the most immunocompromised person on planet Earth for a solid 13 months of my treatment, I got on every plane, never wore a mask. I hugged every germy, sweaty stranger I could get my hands on because my life is better with humans and hugs and adventure. Wow. And then when the world shut down 2 months before my treatment ended, I was a little bit ticked off that treatment ended, but yeah, it is what it is, right? There's things in life you can't change, and who would want to?
So what happened? What was the day that you woke up? I mean, I'm assuming you sleep in all of this, but you woke up and you said, you know what? On top of everything else, I think I'm going to write a book.
That's a good question. So I am a writer, and I have a previous book. It's a cookbook, so I almost don't count it, but I kept thinking that things were so funny. I mean, again, it was so dark. I was super sick, but
I know
the stuff kept coming that they never warn you about. So it was, I lost the hair in my head. Okay. And people are like, oh, you won't have to shave your legs. Fine. But my nostril hair fell out. And that might seem like a good thing to some people, but I figured it out because my nose kept running and running and running and running. And I thought I had allergies. And one of my friends who had gone through breast cancer, she said, no, you don't have any nostril hair. And I thought, well, that's ridiculous. And then I said, look, and she looked at my nose and she was right. And so nobody warned me about that. Nobody warned me that my eyes would change colors, or that my vision would go bad, or that my fingernails would rot out on my fingers, or that when I lost my eyelashes, I would lose only one eye full of lashes first. And I look like the crazy baby from Toy Story with one eye. So anywho,
wow.
Yeah, nobody told me those things. So at first I thought, I'm going to write this. I just knew I was going to tell people about it because it was funny. And during my process, I didn't tell anybody any of it because I don't like pity. But I figured if I tell them after the fact, they can't pity me because I'll be done.
Right.
And then, so it was the funny part at first. And then being who I am and doing what I do, I started to think that, you know what, I could actually help people through this. And, I really relied on perspective passion, positivity. I ended up with this mantra: I can do hard things. And, that's one of the chapters in my book that really helps people. So that was kind of the process. That's what convinced me at first was, holy cow, this is hilarious. I need to tell somebody. And then finally I settled upon a book.
Wow. And then what did that process look like? Did you outline it? Did you just start taking notes? Did you set aside a time to write it? That kind of stuff.
I wrote before the pandemic, before the world shut down. I wrote primarily on airplanes because that's when I was forced to sit down, and I would have a good chunk, 3 to 5 hours to do it. And what I did is I relied on my calendar. So people think I kept a journal, and I didn't. I used a timeline with my book, and they tell you don't ever use a timeline in a memoir. Okay, well, with cancer, dates are really important. People want to know, when were you diagnosed, and when did this happen, and when did that happen? And so doing it, it certainly wasn't a journal, but doing it in the timeline format really helped, and I think mattered for this situation. So because of my travels and my treatment was so regimented, all the poignant moments, I could just look back at my calendar and say, okay, that's the day I started chemo. Okay, that's the day my hair fell out on the stage at Los Angeles Marathon. So it was really easy to kind of go in the timeline. And so I wrote when I had time. And then when the world shut down, I sat in my little swing in my backyard, and I had all day to write. Wow. Nothing else to do but write.
So I guess that was kind of an outline, but
my life was the outline.
Your life was the outline.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. And then did you have a timeline where you wanted to get the book finished, or was it just something you were doing and you knew it would finish at some point and then you'd release it?
So it was interesting. My treatment ended in May of 2020, but the adventure part ended in March of 2020, right? Because that was the last race. The LA Marathon was the last, and then the world shut down.
Oh, right. Then, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. And then the last 2 months, really, there wasn't too much interesting going on with my treatment. It was consistent and settled. But I knew I couldn't be done with the book until I finished treatment. And so I actually, I had written the book, and then I waited. And then, of course, the end of my treatment turned out to be really spectacular and interesting and fun. And so once I had put a cherry on my treatment, and then I could write the end of the book in a way that was meaningful, and the story kind of had to be over, or at least over at this point, for me to finish it up. So I think probably by within a month of finishing my treatment, I felt like the words were written. And then, of course, comes the nightmare editing and reviewing and audiobook recording. All the process really gets hard after you're done writing.
Yeah, I don't even know this. I shouldn't ask because I don't know. But did you record the audio for your book? Or did you
sure as hell did. I
knew it. I just knew it. Good. Yeah. Okay. Good for you.
Not always a good idea, but I'm a speaker. This is what I do. I make noise. So the audiobook had to come from me.
I have tried to record audio for my book because I don't want to pay someone to do it. And I don't have that talent that you have over a long narrative. I can make it interesting in a chapter, but I just found I went really flat. So it's just interesting.
It was a punishing process. It took me 30 hours. It's a 10-hour audiobook. Wow. And I actually recorded it near you in Ocala with this awesome producer, Kevin, who I love. Kevin Hunt, I think.
Okay.
And it was just long days. And I'm a live audience professional. I deal with humans or TV cameras and stuff. And it was just me in the studio. So if this is not your forte, by all means, folks, hire a professional. Do not do it in your bedroom or in your closet. It doesn't work that way. You actually have to invest a little bit. And then I think it pays off for certain.
Yeah, well, and your book for sure. I mean, I would much rather hear you reading it to me than just somebody who's just reading the words. So, did you ever get stuck? Now, I know this is a little of a different process than some of the other folks I've talked to, but did you ever have your time to write? You're on the plane or whatever, and just like nothing's coming, or not? And if you didn't, why do you think you didn't?
So I don't think I did, because I tend to only write when I have something to say. So if there's an article on my website, it's only because there was a light bulb and I got passionate and I had words, I had to say it. So with my Noisy Cancer comeback, I don't recall getting stuck. Now I'm writing another book right now and I get stuck all the time. Stuck all the time, and I just shut the computer and move on with my life. I really have to feel passionate in order to put words down. But I do feel like it was really easy to write My Noisy Cancer Comeback because I just had so much to say, and there were so many interesting, exciting, funny stories to tell.
Right. Now, the book you're working on now, is it another book like this one, or is it fiction, or what is it?
So and the next one's Your Healthy Cancer Comeback, and it utilizes my experience as a cancer patient along with my highly credentialed fitness expertise to help other people recuperate and recover from brutalizing cancer treatments of all sorts, not just breast cancer, but I will take people from the bottom, and I hit the bottom. I lost the weight. I was sick. I was all those things. And then how to use baby steps and smart science to rebuild your body and your mind.
Yeah.
It's hand in hand.
Interesting. Were you surprised about anything when the book came out? Were you surprised about its reception one way or another?
I was surprised that I sell twice as many hardcover books as I do paperback. And I was told up in front that people will buy paper. You will sell 80% paper.
Wow.
But I sell a crap ton of hardcovers. I just ordered some, and I ordered 3 boxes of hard and 1 cover of paper, which I thought that was interesting. I do think marketing is challenging. So I do have this built-in audience of people that know me, are interested in me, and they buy it when I'm speaking, they buy it. But I do find it challenging to reach strangers. How do I get to the cancer patients in North Dakota that I don't know, and they're not part of the running community, for example? So I do find the marketing part to be trickier than it seems.
Is there anything specific you did for marketing that worked, or something you did that you would recommend people do not do?
So the thing that really helps me is being a very well-known figure in a particular industry. So the running industry really is my bread and butter. When I speak, I sell a ton of books. So when I do keynotes, and I do a lot of those, I sell a ton of books. The things that I find really hard is I've tried the Google ads, and to me, it would seem pretty straightforward. It's inspirational and cancer, maybe a few other words, but my Google advertising attempts have fallen flat. So I feel like perhaps I need to show up every time to really sell a bunch of books.
Yeah, I've had similar experiences trying to pay into ad networks. I mean, my pockets just aren't deep enough to compete, and it never works out. I go to Comic-Cons and stuff. I write schlock. You write important works that are going to.
You write the thing that helps people relax and escape, right?
I appreciate that. It's also, which is also schlock, but I'm doing pretty good. Panama Red, I've done 50,000 copies of, which is the only minor hit I've had. But
congratulations.
Well, no, but I think that getting the word out, and I think I move more books in person also, but nowhere near what you're doing. But it just seems like there's so many books out there. It's just hard to get recognized, I guess. So I think that's interesting. Well, so would you have any advice? Let's say that someone stumbles on and manages to make it this far. And maybe they're working on their first book, or maybe they've got a book out and they're trying to refine their process. Would you have any advice for them?
Yeah, my advice for them, and a reminder that I am a small business person. So I've really built up my career in a variety of ways, but I'm the epitome of small business. It's just me. But I do think you have to 100% invest in professionals. You have to invest in an editor, in a what comes after editor, the next person,
there's layout. If you
you get editing, and then there's another person that reads through with a fine-tooth comb. And
like a beta reader, or an early reader. Yeah,
I had a handful of people that I trusted read my book before I sent them to the edit, because it was interesting of the things I just randomly got wrong within my own life, like the 5K race. One of my race directors says the K is always a capital. And I was like, how did I not know that?
Yeah.
So there was quite a few references I kind of blew it on. So it did help to have clear eyes, a handful of different perspectives. I never changed who I was and the way I wrote. I just was open to the red pen.
Yeah.
And then the editor, I hired the editor. Now, to me, it was important to hire a Florida Gator. That's my alma mater. And so I specifically went after Florida Gators. So maybe you hire people within your community whatever it is. And then the layout designer, I got some guy, he's in Croatia and he was so good.
Yeah.
My cover artist, I really like. I mean, part of the thing, I do
Oh,
like
your
my
cover is
cover.
fantastic. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you. I think it's fun and uplifting, and most of the cancer books are kind of scary looking and dark and gloomy. And so I thought I
Yeah.
want to bring joy. I hate my hair, but that's my hair. So
You know
yeah,
what? It's a power haircut, though. I mean, I tell you that cover just knocks it out of the park. So
do
it's
you
all
like
good.
it? I'm glad you do.
Yeah.
I think maybe I question it because it's the hair that I had, and I think the hair makes me look like a cancer patient, perhaps, or someone just coming off of baldness. But yeah, so hire, hire, hire. You don't have to spend $1 million. I did not, but definitely hire the cover artist and the editor, because if people read through the first page and there's comma errors, or you
Yeah.
don't know the difference between there, and there, or your and your, that's it. They're shutting the book. They're not buying it. They're
Right.
certainly not going to give you the reviews and recommend it. So make it a professional product.
I think that's right. I think that's sound advice, especially with the editor. I also think you said something. I don't want to lose it. When you have the beta readers, or the people that are kind of close to you that you're going to trust their feedback, you don't necessarily have to do all of their suggestions. It's all meaningful, and of course, you want the feedback. But you said you remained yourself in the book, and I think that's
Yeah.
right. You're still the writer, and I have for my one book, I get reviews, and some people, I'll have people that love and hate the same exact thing. So you have to, when you get the feedback, stay true to the story. But of course, the feedback's important. So you just have to, but you don't have to take all of it, I don't think. At least I don't. So
Yeah, it's interesting. Someone had one reference, and I'm not going to be specific about it, but he was like, that could really offend people. And I just thought, I was like, that's really where I am.
right, yeah,
This is where I am. And if they are okay, I'm the cancer patient telling my story. So if
right.
you don't like it, move on, read something else. But yeah, it has to be a professional product. And sadly, I think with a lot of self-published authors, they think, well, I can just use Photoshop. No, don't. And then I also, do you know who Julie Broad is?
I do not. No.
Okay. So she goes by the Book Broad. She's readily available on YouTube. But while I was writing, when I'd walk my dogs, I would listen to her little short video clips. She's a publishing expert, and it was really helpful. She's available for hire too. And I'm sure she does a great job with her team, but she just gave these handy dandy little things you should know video clips, YouTube videos. And I listened to probably every last one of them. And there were so many golden nuggets in there for me that I sent her a few thank you notes and said, boy, did you make this publishing process easier, much like you are with this podcast.
Well, it's just, yeah, you did it. I did it. I think most people do it, right? Because we when I first stepped into it, I thought I knew everything. And then pretty quickly, I realized I didn't know anything about the market. And I don't want to call them scams. That's not the right thing. But the way I put it is when and primarily self-publishing, but when you're new and you step into this market, you're all proud of yourself because you've got your manuscript and you're wading into the kiddie pool thinking that everyone's going to help you swim. And it turns out it's full of sharks and piranha and all kinds of other stuff. And when even no matter how experienced you are, it's difficult when you first step into the market to identify the real players, the people that are going to actually help you sell your book, to the people that are actually trying to monetize you as the author, and they see you as the customer. They're trying to get money from you, and they're not scams, and they might be right for some people, but you need to know what you're doing and go in eyes wide open, which I think is the message.
And here's the other thing is I have some friends that they've written their books and there's like, I have to have a publisher. I have to do this. And it's so funny to me because I had considered that route. And then really what I came to the fact is I am a control freak and I am a brand. Fitzness is a brand. I don't want to turn my brand, my experience over to somebody else because I'm a capable producer. I just thought, okay, I'm going to control this. I'm going to hire people because trust me, with a publisher, you're paying them. They're not working for free. You might get 30 cents on your book. I don't care how much you pay for it. I would much rather control as much as humanly possible while relying on experts to do their job. If you're sitting there thinking, well, I've got a great book. It's a great book, but I have to go through a publisher or it doesn't count. I think you're missing the bus and you should certainly consider the self-publishing route. There's so many benefits. And I love the fact that, I make big chunk of profit off of every book sold. Nobody's sending me $1 per book. Most of the sales, I'm making maybe $17 to $20 a book.
Wow.
Good.
I make $3 a book, and I thought I was pretty fat. So.
We got to talk. Okay.
Well, I write a lot of books though. So
okay, fair enough.
Okay. Well, I think that's important advice. I think that's right. So.
Oh, and then the other thing is people think you have to ship from the thing. I order books and I ship them out. Everyone gets signed and I put a little gift in it and I send it off in this beautiful pink fluffy envelope, and people know they received it from me, and they're getting a package from Fitz Koehler, and it's come with love, and they really seem to like that. So you do some of the manual labor yourself. It's not so hard.
That's fantastic. I think that's stellar advice. All right. Well, we need to wrap it up. I know you're a busy person on a busy schedule. So I know just getting you for this half hour was kind of a big deal for me. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So the book is My Noisy Cancer Comeback, Running at the Mouth While Running for My Life. There it is. And we'll put a link to it below the podcast.
Thank you.
And if you're open to it, maybe in a couple months, maybe when your next book comes out, we can talk about anything you learned in that process and what your writing process looked like for that and how it was different from your first couple books.
I would love to do that. And I can tell you that this next one is much harder to write than the first. So
I'm sure.
I'll probably complain a little more in the next episode. How's that?
Well, your best book is your next book. That's what I tell everybody. So
I love it.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Take care, everybody.
You too.
Thank you for watching. Please consider hitting the subscribe button.